Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV. This week we're going to be talking some really good stuff. Possible drug testing.
Yeah, we got an interview with Dalton Mason and Freddie Miller.
We are going to be talking header gaskets in the tech of the week.
Our fan of the week question we'll be answering.
And of course, Song or Says. So stay tuned. It's Slingin Dirt TV presented by Joe's Karting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV presented by Joe's Karting. Joe's Karting, your only place to race, where the only restriction is how slow you are. Yeah, what? So it's two features in a row where I finish ahead of you now, isn't it? I just want to make...
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
But you're still behind me in points, that's all that matters. I'll get my crap together.
10 points. You know, in the next feature that if I finished 5 spots ahead of you, we're now tied in points if I did my math correct.
Yeah, whatever.
So I'm coming.
Good for you.
I tell you what, it's kind of a serious issue here. I'm going to read something. Now, this is off Facebook. I'm not going to name the racer, but he brought up a very good point. We were talking about this. He goes, I would like to talk about a rule that's loosely enforced and address another huge safety issue that should be a major concern and is at every other level except ours. I think we really need to start cracking down on tire prepping and start random drug testing. I would think as a fellow business owner, it's a huge liability not to be testing. We operate 1,500 pound plus weapons. They kill people every year, and like it or not, profit or not, we are athletes. We are entertainers. It's irresponsible not to drug test. So I move to enforce a zero tolerance random drug testing. There needs to be more consistent accountability. We need to have accountability at all levels and all finishes, not just top 4 or 5, and not just our cars. Why are we just teching our machines and not our operators as well? What do you think?
I think it's a crock of bullshit myself. I spent 22 years in the Coast Guard, fighting the drug battle, busting druggies and doing all that. I also am, a veteran now, and I'm proud to be an American, and I think that infringes on our rights as a person. I'm not saying it doesn't have its place, but to just randomly test people, I don't agree with that. I mean, if you have a reason or a suspicion, an incident happens and you think somebody's drunk or you think somebody's on drugs and you have a suspicion because something has happened, or somebody says, hey, this guy over in this pit stall's acting wacky, you guys might want to come check it out, and they say either you're out of the track or take a quick P test, that's fine. That's the track's discretion. This is a hobby. We're not professional athletes, okay? Yeah, we get paid a measly pittance for our winnings. We put, 1,000 times more money into it. Eventually, all that cost, if they was to do it, it's just going to trickle back down to the drivers again, as it always does. We get less purses, less people come out, and if there's a reason to do it, you think you have suspicion, that's why you also have police there. There's always law enforcement at most of these tracks.
So you're 51, 52 years old. I can only assume that outside of racing, you've been on a highway, a byway, a freeway, an expressway, going some way. You've gotten to go through a safety checkpoint on the highway. I know I have. When I lived in Virginia, when I've been in Nebraska, I've gone through a safety checkpoint where they stop every vehicle on the road, and I've done several breathalyzers. And it's just a safety checkpoint. They want to see if there's anybody drinking and driving out there. I'm all for it.
Well, you got to understand, this is where you and I differ, is being in the Coast Guard as a federal marshal. So therefore, you have to have probable cause in order to stop somebody. I believe in that. I believe if I suspect that you're doing something, you give me a reason to prove that Buddy Ray is out there driving a race car drunk or doing drugs, that's probable cause. That gives you a reason to do it, but to just randomly go around and, hey buddy, it's your turn, pee in the cup. I don't believe in that. They're not our employers. If employers want to do that to protect themselves for insurance reasons, you have the right to either work there or not work there.
See, I look at it as they're subcontracting us out. When we go to ID Speedway, Joe Kaczynski is giving us purse money. He's paying us. We showed up. We provided a show.
He is not paying us.
No, hold on. The way I look at it, when I see these purses, in my opinion, when I see a purse, Jack Paul takes 10 and he gets, I don't know, $50 for 10. Now I understand it's low pay for the amount of money we put in the cars, but if he's going to need to pay you $50 or whatever the amount would be for 10th place, at that point, in some ways, is he kind of subcontracted? He's paying us to help put on a show. So, also, you know, like we were saying before, we went to go do Slingin Dirt here. If BJ, your son, is in a sport compact, or let me rephrase this. If Preston's in a sport compact, and I think somebody is out there drunk or high or something like that, I think I have the moral responsibility of reporting that person to the tech official or a police officer if there's one in the pits. But with that being said, that's when I'm all about random drug testing. I have seen way too many times people have been smoking weed, they've been drinking beer, they've been doing whatever, and then they go out and get in a car. Now, I will be fair, I have seen people smoke weed, I've seen people drink alcohol, they've gotten in the car, and they're probably they sound more sober than I do, and they probably drive better than I do sober. Not that it's hard, but I've actually been to racetracks where I've seen somebody get just completely tanked on alcohol, and they literally rolled a car, drove over the car, drunk person gets out of his car, the other guy's being tended to by the ambulance, and the drunk guy's like, "Hey, shit, the race car."
Yeah, and well,
and at that point, I was like, yeah, we need some random testing.
I disagree. I don't think that you need to randomly test it. You alluded to when you said if it was Preston or BJ in that car, and you know the guy next to you know he's either on drugs or drinking. You have that moral responsibility to get that guy removed off the track. That is your responsibility as a human being.
Right.
I don't think we need to randomly just put it on somebody else. As drivers, if we're worried about us, then we need to police us. And if we have bad people that are in there, you know, your crew or my crew or the guy's crew next to us, I don't care. I see somebody light up a doobie or drinking during the races, you're damn right I'm calling them out. I don't want to see those drivers getting in those cars or a crew, you know, getting smashed under a car because they're breaking the rules. That's stuff we have to do as drivers. We have to self-police ourselves.
Race car drivers, yes or no? Race car drivers, you give us an inch, we'll take a mile.
Well, yeah, most of the time you will.
Okay, most of the time. So
you will.
So most of the time, if we can both agree that they will do that, then if you've got one driver smoking a doobie or doing blow or drinking alcohol or whatever, and he's got a little married band of friends, well, you think they're probably going to report him? Hell no, they're going to be doing the same thing that he's doing. So at that point, if we're policing ourselves, it's just a waste of time.
Come on, we pit 3 feet from each other. If you see it going on, what would you do?
I would report it, but I'm not saying everybody else.
There you go. You just answered the question.
If
anybody that has a moral compass, they will freaking report that.
I like
it on the track.
I'm not saying that we have to do it to every driver, but if we do random pill draws or make it anonymous to where, okay, here's what we're doing, it is what it is. You know, you 3 or 4 individuals are randomly going to get tested. To me, it shows that the tracks are taking it to the next safety level. I don't want to hear, well, okay, I hate to bring this up, but the Tony Stewart incident, that it came to find out that the poor young gentleman that passed away in that incident had weed in his system. Well, had he never been killed, had he finished the night, nothing would have been said. So by rights, did he have the right to be on that track having weed in his system?
No, but he shouldn't have been. I mean, he had weed in his system, nobody knew. Now, you're talking a whole, you know, another apples and oranges again. Does he have the right to smoke pot? No, it's not legal. All right, he broke the law.
Unless you're in Colorado.
Yeah. You know, he broke the law. He paid the consequences for his actions. He was stupid. Now, if anybody in the pit saw him lighting up doobers or whatever, that's a different story. I mean, I just believe that our society is going down this, it's everybody else's responsibility to take care of crap. No, it's our responsibility to take care of it. If you don't like it, police it. Take care of it. But to just push it off and say
if
random,
you don't like it, police it. So I'm I'm all about the tracks.
If you don't like people
enforcement,
doing
police-
drugs or drinking around you, then you police it yourself and take it into your own hands. That's what you do as a citizen of the United States, not just say, oh, we should do. We're not professional athletes. I don't care what you say. We're not employed or subcontractors. If we are, I want to raise Joe, and then I'll pee. All right?
Yeah, but you get a raise based on performance, and
Yeah, well,
that's a whole different subject.
I get an A for effort and an F for results.
So, would you be offended, hypothetically speaking, this ain't gonna happen, but hypothetically speaking, I'm Joe, and I come up to you and I go, tell you what, we're gonna do some random drug testing, Bud, Jack, you want a peanut cup, we just wanna make sure everybody's on the up and up. Would you be offended by that?
I would be offended, but I didn't say I wouldn't take the test.
I'd be all about it. I'd be like, yeah, here you go. I'd probably pee 20 times before I get in the car anyway.
But my
I'm
first
so
words would
nervous.
be, what's your probable cause? Well, we have no reason to think that you're on drugs. Let 'em off. Beep that out, you know? I mean, it pisses me off. It does. People taking away your rights as an American pisses me off because everybody thinks that somebody's the little politically correct police. I mean, come on. We have all kinds of problems in this world. I don't think we need another one.
I tell you what, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Y'all pretty much know where we stand. He's against it, I guess.
Yeah, the guy that fought against drugs for 20 years is against random drug testing.
I'm all for it. Never did drugs, drank a lot of beer, but
you
that's
can pee
beside-
test me anytime. I got no problem with that.
Yeah. Tell us what you think. Do you think there should be random drug testing or no? We'd really like to hear a lot of you from across the United States and the world. So, tell you what, this has been Slingin Dirt TV presented by Joe's Carding. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
At Kaziski Auto Parts Team PRP, this is where everything starts with our quality control, staying clean, and everything is organized right here in the teardown. At Kaziski Auto Parts, in our Step 2 process, this is where our guys take the engines and trannies out. They power wash and make sure everything tests good and clean so you have no problems for your vehicle. This is Step 3 at Kaziski Auto Parts. This is where everything, again, is organized, put on the shelf properly, tagged right. And if you notice how clean everything is, so it suits you, because we're not a junkyard, we are a recycled auto parts store. This is our last and final step here. This is the shipping and receiving. This is the last part where the part gets checked one last time, so 3 people will touch your part before it goes out the door, packaged properly, and sent right to your door. Kaziski Auto Parts Team PRP. We have over 1,000 cars in stock a year, over 1,000 engines and trannies. Give us a call anytime, 402-731-4592. Any one of our 10 salesmen can help you at any time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV presented by Joe's Carding. We're just going to get right to it. Here's a interview with one of the most iconic Western Iowa racers with his grandson Dalton. It's Freddie Miller and Dalton Mason out of Avoca, Iowa. Here you go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV presented by Joe's Carding. Joe's Carding, your only place to race. Where the only restriction is how slow you are. And I tell you what, in the house tonight, in one of the coolest race shops, one of the most nostalgic looking places I think we've ever done an interview. Jack, I wish you were here. You're playing in the grass somewhere, but this is one of the coolest race shops. Fast Freddie Miller out of Avoca, Iowa, and Dalton Mason.
Yes, sir.
Don't call me sir. My wife don't even call me sir. My wife calls me all kinds of names that would take up an entire another show, but it's neither here or there. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
A lot of people wanted to hear the story about Freddie Miller, so let's just get right to it. Give us a little bit of history about Freddie Miller.
Well, 83 we started building cars. 84 I started racing. I've raced in every class there is around.
Besides sprint cars.
Except sprint cars. We don't do sprint cars yet. That 19 inches.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yet?
Yeah. 19 inches of stagger is a little too much so far. I got a little youth coming in behind me that can handle that stuff, but right now we're at the late model class. Dalton has done a real good job of being around me, fixing cars, making cars. He sets his own car up and does everything himself. We work together, and he's worked with me, for me, and does a real good job.
Now this is your second year?
Fourth.
Or fourth year. Wow, I'm way behind the times.
Yeah.
But I'm just a B-mod driver. So, being your fourth year, do you have a lot of pressure on your shoulders at times where you look at Freddie here and you're like, wow, look at everything he's accomplished? You know, do you kind of set the bar a little higher for yourself with the late model?
Not really. I'm my own person. Even though he is my grandfather, you know, I'm just out making my own name, you know, just trying to do what I can and make my own name is really all it comes down to.
Being a grandfather, does this kind of inject a little bit of youth into you, getting to watch the grandson run? And
What's really a hoot is racing against him on the same track in the same race.
so who's better, grandson or the grandfather? I'm going to ask the
Last
question.
year or this year? Or 2 years?
Three out of 4, it's been me.
Well, the first year, you know, we had to get him injected into it, and he won the NASCAR Rookie of the Year on dirt in Iowa
Wow, really?
at 16 years old. And then the second year, he kind of worked me over pretty good. And then last year, I laid it on him pretty hard. We ended up 4th and 6th in points at the NASCAR track down in Corning, Iowa. And we had a really fun time. And then this year, they changed the rules a little bit. We weren't real happy with what we had, but we were competitive, and we just wanted to try something different. And now we've been to 4 different tracks this year.
Really? So I'm going to guess Harlan, Shelby County,
Yep. Shelby County is Harlan.
yeah, boy.
Yeah.
We're doing the interview late at night,
Boone.
so
We've been to Boone.
should be
Been to
in
Boone.
bed.
Been to Boone.
Should be in bed right now.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Well,
it's
you
all right.
were in bed earlier. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm
Grandfather's
worried.
out here working.
Buddy's worried about me being up late, and you're in bed already.
I need all my youth beauty sleep.
Anyhow,
You need a lot more.
Right, been to Boone, Des Moines Fairgrounds. Dalton got his first win in IMCA.
Wow.
He was real close a couple times in NASCAR. Didn't quite get it, but we're not done yet. But and we've also been to Stewart, which is a fun racetrack.
Yeah, we interviewed Stuart today.
Yeah, I raced a lot of Stewart in my younger years in the hobby stock class.
Now, see, I would never have known that you were in the hobby stocks. As long you and I have known each other for, I'm gonna say probably close to 10 years now in passing, and I've always known Freddie Miller as a late model racer.
Yeah,
I've never known Freddie Miller to drive anything else.
I started in the Enduros, 200 lap races. One year we ran 18 200 lap races.
You know,
And then we moved up to the bomber class. And then we moved up to the hobby class. And then we went to stock car, modified, and then late model.
what was the easiest car to drive in your experience?
Late model.
But no, seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah, I've actually,
serious as a heart attack.
I've actually asked a lot of people this. I've been told that just because you may not do well in a modified doesn't mean you ain't gonna rock the world in a late model. And a lot of guys were telling me, Bud, a lot of times the open wheel guys can make the transition to a late model a whole hell of a lot easier versus a late model guy coming down to a mod on that skinny little puck tire. And you know, when you got a 2-foot tire up here versus that 8-inch hockey puck,
Yeah.
it gets kind of dicey.
Coming up through, I'd have to say the late model is time and again easier to set up and drive
Than a mod.
than a mod. You know,
Yeah.
we don't do no stock stubs.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, you know.
Yep. I remember, you know, you mentioned Enduros, and you never got to know my dad, but my dad in the mid and late 80s raced Enduros. And I thought that was cool being a 12, 13-year-old boy back then. And I look at the sport now, and those Enduros, you want to talk about some tough sons of guns.
Yeah.
You had to have some huge huevos to drive an Enduro car. Because I remember watching my dad, 300 it was literally, I'll never forget it, there were 3 wide, I've never seen a race go 3 wide, but it's 3 wide in turn 1 with the last row, and the first row is going into turn 1. So you only had probably 20 foot of space between the first and last row, 3 wide all the way around the track. And I want to say it was like 100 cars on the track or something like that. And it was 100 cars, and then it was 300 laps or 3 hours, whichever came first. And out there was no such thing as red flags or yellows. If the car got spun out and you got taken out,
in the middle.
you had the best view in the house for that race.
You aren't kidding.
You know, and so I look at today's safety equipment and stuff like this, and my dad was like, "Oh, you young kids have it so well. Go to an enduro race and you'll find the face of God real quick."
Well, what we got was a whole season's worth of A-feature laps in one afternoon.
I'm thinking like
laps.
1 hour.
200 laps, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
one night in Stewart, we started 100 and some cars. We were the 3rd row outside the track to start. It was 3 wide all the way around the track. You had to wait at the top to get on
wow.
after they threw the green.
That you had to be. I mean, did you ever at that point go, "What in the hell am I doing? Is this suicide?"
No, what
Or
I
you
wanted to do was, where's my place in line?
Yeah, I just want to
I
go.
want to go.
So now being 19, you're 4 years into it now. Obviously, you haven't raced, you know, what I consider probably the toughest thing I've ever seen on dirt, these enduros, but from way back. But when you go out and you're against, you know, your grandpa, and you're against the likes of Zeitners and the Van Eatens and the stuff like that, does that ever really rattle your cage, or you're just like, I can take them?
The first year it definitely did. You know, that first night I was just pooping myself going down Corning, but now that I've got more experience, 4 years worth of experience, got a feature win under my belt, I feel like, you know, wins are just right on the verge, more and more, and the sky's the limit, really. I feel like
That's what we want. You know, second place is good finish, but we want wins. We
Yep.
all want wins.
Well, yeah. If you're not in this sport to win, you probably need to park it, sell it, and go watch the races.
That's right.
find a different hobby.
With that being said, I was talking to a modified driver, and he did bring up this point. He's like, some drivers are out there to win. And this is a very prominent modified driver. He goes, a lot of drivers are out there solely to win. If they don't win, then it's a horrible night. And my dad and I, at one time, we were out there with the sole idea, we want to win. Now, if you don't want to win, like I said, park the car, sell it, go sit in the stands.
Yeah.
But do you, when you get to the track, is it all about winning, or is it have fun and then let's try to get the win?
It's all about respect. And when Dalton first started, I says, you have to have the respect of the other drivers. And to get that respect, you have to give respect.
Yep.
And now we're at the point where both of his great grandfathers raced, and he's racing behind me. His mother raced 5 races in the powder puffs and won 4 of them.
Wow.
Tough cookie.
Yeah.
His great grandfather, the day he won the NASCAR Rookie of the Year on dirt, his great grandfather, 60 years prior to that, won the championship at Playland Speedway.
Who was that?
Donnie Pash, the Avoca Flash.
Now, is that any relation to Bud Pash or Dale Pash?
That's a cousin, but Donnie was his own island. Donnie
Wow.
raced for Dale Swanson. In
Okay.
fact, he took over. He was when Dale Swanson sold Tiny Lund's car and Johnny Buchamp's car. Donnie bought one of those, and he raced.
Oh, okay.
So they raced the same. He was of the same cloth right there.
Well, so you definitely got some lineage
Yep. And,
backing you up.
Yep. And Dalton showed the other drivers respect, and we had a little incident last weekend where we really didn't feel like we needed that shove at the end of the race after the checker. One thing about it, he's different than me. He'll never drive you dirty.
Right.
Dalton will never do that. He's been taught that. He never drive. He don't want to. He wants to race clean. He wants to beat you fair and square. That's
Yeah.
the way it is.
I was raised that way myself. I'd like to think I'm not a dirty driver. But after 23 years in the seat, you know, a lot of people in the sport won't make it 20 years, let alone
No.
23. And you know, and you've been around longer than 23 years by far. And I've told people, it's like the worst thing you could possibly do is to ruffle the tail feathers of a veteran. You know, we're not out there. It's not like we sit at home going, I think I'm going to take out so and so tonight. We don't do that because we got to fix our stuff just as well as you got to fix yours.
We have to fix it more because we're going to go to win.
Yep. But I'll be damned if a rookie's going to come in here or somebody who doesn't want to show us respect and ruffle our tail feathers without getting a little bit of payback.
Right.
You know, and I never thought I would say those words. But even in the last year, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired of getting pushed around. I mean, like you said, to get respect, you got to give respect. But once you've been given respect, if you don't get the respect back, well, then guess what?
Open game.
It's an open game.
It's an open game, but you know, he's built different. He'll never drive you dirty no matter what you do, but he'll beat you.
Yep.
And we'll
you
come
know,
back next week if we can't, and then we'll beat you.
You know, one thing, now I've never gotten to see you at the track. In fact, I've never met you until just now. Now, the one thing I can say about Freddie Miller, no, we all have our bad nights where we get angry and whatnot, but through and through, 99.999% of the time, you are probably walking around with one of the biggest smiles. You're always laughing. It's all about a good time with Freddie Miller.
Yeah, I love this sport.
You do. I mean, you've got you're like you're like him.
Yeah.
You know, except you're like, you're probably more hyperactive than him at the trailer. You always rock around, you're shaking hands.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason why I bring that up is because back to what we were talking about, you know, racing for the win, I was told for a number of years, you need to go out there with one sole purpose to win. Well, yeah, you should want to win. He's like, no, that's it. That's it. And I got to thinking about that, and Dad and I were always, you know, anything, if we didn't win, well, we were just completely ticked off. We were pissed off. And then finally Dad said one day, you know, there's 20 cars in the feature. The odds are against you. It's a 20-to-1 long shot that you're going to win.
Absolutely.
Just go out for a top 10, and anything beyond that is great. So we took all the pressure off.
Yeah.
Guess what? We had fun. When we started having fun, we actually started popping off B feature wins, heat race wins. Then we got the A feature win. And it's like all the pressure was gone, so we did a lot better. But you walk around after all this time, and you're very competitive. You want to go out there to win, but you're like the funnest guy I know in the pits.
It's all about the kids. It's all about, you know, in reality, we wear the clown nose and have the big clown feet.
Oh yeah, my son would tell you that.
The spectators don't come to see the promoter.
Nope.
The spectators don't come to see how rough the track is. The spectators come to see us put on a show, and that's what we're hired to do. You pay us every night.
You know,
that's what we do.
It's funny that you mentioned that, and jump in here if you want. I had a promoter once tell me a long time ago, a promoter's job is simply to provide a place for us to turn some laps and put on a show. The promoting of the show and the races, that falls back on the racers. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The racers bring people to the stands. Dalton, we drove 75 miles one way to race for 3 years because we believed in the sanction, and we believed in the promoters, and we believed in the track. And he learned how to race on the hardest track there is to race in Iowa, Corning, Iowa, Adams County Speedway.
That is a drag strip with 2 turns at the
and
end.
he learned how to do that, and now we're moving on. You know, now, absolutely.
You know, let's talk about that moving on. We were talking right before we filmed this. You went way over into almost borderline central Nebraska weekly to race.
Yep.
And now you're back over here, and you're in. When I walked by you at Harlan, I had to make sure I was seeing. You're running under the IMCA banner.
You know, oh no. I
It's
know.
like it pains you to
That's because
say.
of him. That's because of him. Well, you know, I knew that we needed to learn somewhere else. because he wouldn't have got a fair shot as being my grandson in a place where I won a lot of races. It just wouldn't have been a fair deal.
Right.
And they proved it, and so we went somewhere else, and now it's just one of them things. We're home. We're 10 miles from the track.
That's gonna be nice.
Mm-hmm. Dalton is bringing 30, 40 people to the stands. They're going to come see the young kid win.
Well,
They're going to come see him whip old grandpa.
Whip old grandpa. So you've seen the ups and downs of the sports. Now, Dalton, you're 4 years in compared to somebody like me, or even more so Freddie here. You're still, a baby in the sport in some ways. In your being a late model racer now, what do you think the sanction bodies and the track promoters can do to bring more attention and to get more late models in the sport?
Come to a consensus on one general motor package, I feel like.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's too many rule packages in the late models, period.
Yeah, and the rookie promoters or even the veteran promoters need not be scared of making a call during a race. We're going to come back. We're going to come back to race. We may not have a good night, but if there's something blatant on the track, call it, even if he's your favorite.
Yeah.
If Dalton makes a mistake, he'll own up to it. If I make a mistake, I'll own up to it. But the promoters need to step up and make the call.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I've seen promoters in the past, well, it's kind of a questionable call. If it's questionable, just call it.
Yeah.
We might get mad. We may bitch and complain.
We'll get mad.
But guess what? Guess where we're going to be?
Strong.
Guess where we're going to be next week?
That's right.
We're going to be right back at the track.
Except we're going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
We're going to be a little bit better because you called me on a questionable call. I'm not going to make that move again if I get called out on it.
Well, yeah, we already know what you're looking at. We know what to expect from you.
Right. It cost me in the pay book. It cost me right there. When I get my check, it's a little less because I had a questionable call called against me. I'm not going to hold the promoter. It's not his fault. Call him and protect our equipment.
Oh, yep, absolutely. With the late models around here, do you think the state of late model racing is getting better, or do you think it's dying, or where do you think we're at?
Racing costs so much more.
Oh yeah.
But the late models have the ability to put on the best show there is. We have the ability to go around that track faster than anybody else and stick.
You think?
Yeah, and you think. And that's what people want to come to see. They want to see people. We're not risking our life. We're risking the chance of not being able to win by taking our car over the edge. But you have to run right up next to the edge to win.
I was just talking to, Jack Prawl, who's not here. We were talking, he got mad at me. We got over it now and we're fine. And I told him, I was like, in today's racing, you have to drive, whether it be a modified or a late model, you have to drive these cars hard and on the edge.
Yes.
That's the way they're built. That's the way they're designed.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, and not saying that you didn't have to do that back in 1980, but the cars today don't react like the cars in 1970, 80, or even 90 for that matter.
And the shock spring packages allow us to run right to the edge.
Oh yeah.
And when it breaks loose, Katie, bar the door. We'll see you later.
No, couldn't agree more.
It's a couple thousand a corner every time you pile one up.
Oh yeah, if you're scared to pile one up, you in the wrong sport.
In the wrong spot.
Yep. So as a driver, I'm going to guess, as a veteran driver, I'm just going to take a guess here. As a veteran driver, you probably like a very nice, smooth, hard, dry, slick track.
I love dry slick.
As a driver, what do you like being the young gun?
I like dry slick too. It evens out the playing field. Takes all the equipment away from it.
That's very rare to hear that in a young 19-year-old, because the 19-year-old, I want that hammered down, foot to the floor.
I may be 19 years old, but I have the body of a 60-year-old.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say nothing about that, because you are the one in bed at 9:30 at night while Freddie's out here working on the cars.
No, he started in the go-karts when he was 9. Well, actually when he was 8. competitive at 9, and he drives it right to the edge where it don't slip, and finds his mark, don't miss it, and that's how he wins.
Wow. So, give us 10 years into the future of you. Where do you see yourself?
It's hard telling right now. I'm a college kid. I'm going to college.
That's a smart idea.
Yeah. Just have to see what college brings me, what jobs. If I'm able to race, if I'm able to afford it, we'll just have to see if racing is what the future holds for me.
What would you like to be doing in 10 years? MRLA, Lucas Oil.
That's too expensive. That's a lot of traveling.
I know you would jump at the shot if you had a chance.
Hey, I'll back him wherever he wants to go. There, the limit is on your pocketbook, and there's only so much we can afford.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been an economic racer. Dalton's grew up that way. He's easy on equipment.
Do you think sometimes racers, and chime in if you want on this, do you think sometimes people tend to stay in a class too long? Let me rephrase that, not too long. You want to be an economic racer, but when you have somebody who's literally scraping the barrel to put a 15-year-old car on the track with the smallest motor known to man, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but, how do I put this? You got your good cars, you got your bad cars, and you got the bottom, and you're like, my God, they're putting that on the track.
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes people maybe get a little too overeager to be in a class, and that can hurt the class?
It goes back to what you said about happiness. If driving that 15-year-old car, if they're even in the back, if they get the joy and the excitement and the adrenaline rush out of it, so be it.
Well, the reason why I asked that, I was at a track, and I'm looking at their B-mods, and I am seeing bone dead stock radiators out of a front-wheel drive car. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, are you serious? And their headers, one of the header tubes where it comes down and it turns back, is almost 3/4 of the way crushed shut. And I'm like, and the only reason why I asked that question was because that person was in the back, and within 3 laps, they're getting lapped.
Yeah.
So when you got the guys up front, I'm not talking guys with big pocketbooks, but they've got substantial money wrapped up in their program. And let's be honest, in racing, he with the biggest checkbook usually has an advantage over the field. So we're out there, we're all buzzing around this poor guy. He moves up in a lane. He's not doing nothing wrong. He's playing within the scope of the rules. And all of a sudden, he moves up a lane. Here comes a fast guy.
Runs over
him. Not 1, 2 cars done. That guy's out of racing. And that got me to thinking, do some of the guys get too eager to be in a class because of the notoriety of being a late model racer or a modified racer, when they'd be better suited off being in a lower class, much more economical class?
Well, the hobby stock classes are your beginner classes. You're going to have a variety of drivers. The people that stay with it the longest and get more seat time, like we're trying to get him, are the people who are successful. The main thing you have to think about when you're racing is safety.
Oh, yeah.
Safety is what it's all about. We build a chassis. We don't build the chassis anymore. We buy a chassis that's safe. I've proven it time and time again that GRTs are good chassis.
We're going to talk about that safety aspect here in a minute, and I think you know where I might be heading with this.
I would imagine.
You would imagine. With safety, let's talk about your rollover simulator. This is one of the coolest things. A lot of drivers, a lot of promoters, a lot of sanctioning has done so much to help the sport. But if there's any one person that I could ever say gave back so much to the sport in raising awareness for safety, it's got to be you, Freddie, with your rollover simulator.
It was a necessity. We had a bad wreck where a good friend was killed and burned up, and what we needed to do was teach the driver in the first place on how to get out of the race car. If he's upside down, if he's sideways, if he's on fire. We needed to teach the fire and safety crews how to get us out of the race car safely. We needed to teach the fire and safety crews what our equipment meant, how to get us out of our equipment were we upside down and unconscious. You know,
Yep.
it's just, it was a necessity, and it all started with NASCAR. It all started with the short tracks of dirt. We were just fortunate enough to have people like Joe Koziski and Steve Koziski, Stan Caesar, everybody behind us that knew that safety was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And not only was he my friend that passed away, he was all their friends.
Yep.
So together, we got together. Doc Campbell and Norval Larson have the ingenuity to build anything there is. And they built this simulator with our guidance to teach us how to protect us in the sport. And that's what we're doing right now.
How many people do you think over the course of time have gone through your rollover simulator? I know you have. I don't even have to ask that question.
We've had over 500 drivers. We've had 16 to 17 fire and rescue crews train with it. And I've had the Governor Heineman in it at the state fair.
Really?
Yes. At the state fair.
What
in
did the
Lincoln.
governor think of it?
The governor had a case of vertigo and found out about it when he was upside down. You know, so
Wow.
that's, you know, you never know till you get there.
If for those of you out there watching Freddie and I talk about this rollover simulator, if you don't know what we're talking about, on YouTube, look up Slingin Dirt, go all the way back to the very first episode. We did a pretty lengthy, in-depth description.
Yeah.
I don't think you could be there that day.
No,
You were
I was out of town.
You were out of town. Freddie let us use his rollover simulator. I'm a die-hard advocate of this. Anybody, I don't care if you're, well, obviously a driver, first and foremost should be very, 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 very well versed in the simulator, because it's not just a simple case of going upside down. I mean, you could fall on your head. There's a certain way to come out of the car. That's all stuff I learned. And it seems like every time I get in that simulator, you always learn something new. Always.
Yeah. You need to get the fabricators in it. You need
Yep.
to get your crew chief in it.
Get your
You need
pit
to
crew
get
in it.
Every crewman. You need to get your local fire departments that are at the racetrack, put them in it, and let them know what it feels like for us to be hanging like a bat in a cave.
Yeah, you know, when you drive these race cars, one thing I took away from it, which I took a lot of different things, but the one thing I took away from the simulators, if you're in your street car going down the road, you got doors and stuff like that are easily ripped off with the jaws of life or whatever, and you can extricate somebody out of the car. Now, it's not, it can be tough, but it's, in my opinion, it would be tougher getting Dalton extricated out of this late model right here with the jaws of life, because you got the roll bars, the plating in there, you got all kinds of stuff. You know, what we go through in these race cars is nothing like what we go through in a street car. This is a whole different animal right here.
It has to be.
It has to be. And for you fans out there, if you ever see one of Freddie's simulators or another simulator out there, I don't care who has it, sit in it, because, you know, whether your favorite driver is Dalton, or if your favorite driver is Freddie, or if your favorite driver is Chris Abelson or whoever.
Buddy Ray.
Buddy Ray. Well, I don't ever go fast enough to get over on my lid. But if one of your favorite drivers is up on their lid, sit in that simulator and go through what they go through. It'll give you a whole new appreciation for your driver.
That's right.
I think the one thing I can't stand, I understand the drama and the thrills and spills of racing in the wrecks and whatnot, but nothing is more sickening when somebody goes over on their lid or they barrel roll down the straightaway, especially on a half-mile track like Corning or Denison or Harlan, and you see the adults up there taking pictures like, oh my God, that was cool. No, it wasn't, you idiot. That
No.
could have been, that's somebody's father, that's somebody's brother.
Yeah, it's somebody who wanted to win the race.
And believe it or not, it doesn't matter who you are, what class you're in. If that is your most mortal enemy on the track, 9 times out of 10, it's that guy who will be the first one going, is that guy okay? Is he all right? None of us want to see each other get hurt.
No, we're the first ones out on the track to help if we can, and the last ones to leave.
Now, I don't know if you could answer this, But I've been starting to wonder this myself. Back in the 80s and 90s, when you were in the stock car and then you started going late model and stuff like that, I think it's pretty safe to assume the speeds have gotten faster.
Yes.
With the advancement of the suspension setups, the shock and spring setups, the cars are exponentially faster. With that being said, do you think we're ever going to hit a threshold where we're like, okay, we're going to have to, I hate to say it, but slow these cars down a little bit, given the track conditions?
We moved to a class that limits our cubic inch. It limits our tires that we can use. And what they're trying to do as a sanction is make us more competitive, more even. To do that, you have to slow us down.
Right. You know, I watched an interview with Tony Stewart here. I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago. And he was pretty upset. Old Smoke was going off. He was like, well, I'm sorry, we didn't wreck more cars out there. And, you know, the fans should get their money back. We should have wrecked 3/4 of the field. I mean, people were upset that there wasn't the big thrills and spills. And then they asked him that question. He goes, even at Talladega, I don't think we need to go 220 mile an hour to put on a good race. We can go 180 and put on a hell of a race.
Yeah.
And so
it is what it is, no matter where you're
Yeah.
racing. The hobby stock, if you win a hobby stock race, you have just as big a thrill as I win a late model race.
yeah, I'm not saying that the cars should be regulated to 50, 60 mile an hour by no means.
No.
But we've seen on some of these tracks, especially this year with the rough tracks, you know, with Mother Nature showing her hand and whatnot, we've seen so many cars rolled over. We've seen so many cars driven through, rubbed up on, stuff like that. And while some of it could be intentional, a lot of it I see is just a good old hardcore racing incident. But at a couple of times I've been like, man, are we almost going too fast for the sport? You know, given the track conditions and what we have out here, you know, and if that's the case, what's it going to be like 10 years from now?
Don't use the other guy to turn your car. Respect
Well-
the other drivers.
Well, you and I come from a very old school way of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody out there is like that,
Yeah.
but there seems to be, in my opinion, an uptick, if you will, of the 8 tires will turn the car better than 4.
Yeah.
I've seen that. You know, so here, you know, you're 19 and you're driving like old school grandfather here. That's cool. It shows that you've got respect. Not only do you show respect towards your fellow competitors, you're showing respect for the sport. You know, and by all means, the other competitors have got to start seeing that in you at some point. There was another young late model racer I talked to here about 3 years ago. His exact words, he's like, "Bud, I was so scared to death to get in that late model race." He goes, "And I'm just going out for hot laps. I drove the car around in the field. I go out for hot laps." I'm like, he goes, "I almost was like, I'm going to park it." He goes, "I was scared to death." And I was like, well, isn't that a good thing, being scared? That means you kind of respect what's going on. I'd be more scared if you weren't scared.
Yeah.
I was like, you're taking this great, big, massive car out there. I was like, so what'd you do to gain the respect? And I never thought about this. In fact, I had my son do this in a cage car race. He goes, I seriously, my dad told me to go around to every single late model driver, put my hand out, shake their hand, introduce myself, and I told him right up front, if I get into you, I don't mean to, I'm a rookie, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I was like, how well did that work? And his exact words was, it worked out really good. A lot of people appreciated that. So when my son went cage kart racing, I was like, I don't know who you're racing against, so if there's a cage kart, just start telling people if you get into them, you're sorry, you're a rookie, but mean it. And he was like, okay, and he did that, and people were like, wow, that actually means a lot.
Well, it does. You know, it means something when you tear somebody else's car up and you go say, I'm sorry, or, you know, I slipped, or whatever. You know, more than likely you're going to get some help in setting your car up, because that guy don't want you to run into him again.
No. Me and Jack were talking here a while back. Do you think, like in NASCAR, if you're a rookie in the Cup Series, you have to put that yellow stripe on the back of your car so the veteran drivers, when they come up on you, they say, oh, well, that's a rookie. Do you think that it would be a good idea if dirt racing ever went to a mentality like that? Let's say I'm in a late model. Obviously, we all know I'm too slow to drive a late model. I don't know the first thing about them. So I go to Harlan this Saturday night and I'm racing against you. You're coming off turn 4 with a head of steam, and I'm just up there going, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? You see a yellow stripe on the back of my car, does that help you? Or are you not looking at that?
I see a guy who's either holding his line or he's not. He's all over the track. He needs some help setting his car up, or else he's just a rookie at it. Just wait your opportunity. Dalton was leading the race, and a veteran come up behind him and waited for Dalton to burn his tires, and he passed him. That's the only way he got around him.
So it's funny you mentioned the veteran waited for him to burn up his tires. Oh boy, I have done that move before several times. I was like, oh, I'm just going to ride back here, and I know the guy's going to light his tires up on these hard hockey puck tires that we have. So for you, 4 years, you got the feature win. Obviously, you know what you're doing. What are some of the little tips of the trade driving a late model that you've picked up on already?
Even just this past Saturday, you went and interviewed him today, Todd Cooney.
Yep.
He was the one that waited for me to burn up my tires. At the end of the race, I went up to congratulate him, and he goes, you know what you should have done? You should have moved down a half a car length, and I wouldn't have caught you. I wouldn't have passed you. I just waited for you to burn up your tires. And look what happens. He passed me and goes on to wins the race.
You know, but that's got to mean a lot coming from Todd Cooney.
Yes,
because here's a guy, when I was inside of his shop, I was seriously going, there's 40 championship plaques, not counting the trophies, in his room. You know, so when he's giving you the advice of moving down a lane, he could have been like, well, I could have just dumped you right then and there, or I could have done this, or I could have done that. But you had a veteran driver that was really cool about it and said, well, you know, I just wait for you. So now you've clicked on that. So, you know, a lot of kids your age, they've just been all gung-ho. Like, oh, I'll just go out next week and I'll just go after it again. But you learned from that.
Yes.
And as a veteran driver, that shows maturity on your part.
I may have won a race already. I think, you know, some kids might have been like, just
4 years you won a race. I had 20 years and I only got one.
I'm still taking every bit of experience, tidbits that I can.
So
we've got a lot of good R&D from some close friends that drive GRTs like us, and we're feeding off each other, and we're in different sanctions, and it's really working good this year. It really is.
So let's put Dalton on the hot seat for a little bit.
You bet.
Give me one thing that you never expected out of him that's a positive as a driver, and give me one thing that as a driver he needs to work on.
Oh boy.
Whoa, look at him turn colors.
Well, the engine builder and the guy who kind of is our guru would agree with me. He needs to keep the car a little bit cleaner. That's about it.
Or when you say cleaner, like a little less road rash, or pressure wash the darn thing.
Pressure wash the thing so I can work underneath it and not get greasy.
That sounds exactly like my dad. For years I didn't pressure wash my car. My dad laid underneath the modified. You know what happened to my dad? A chunk of mud dried on the car, and he's banging on whatever it was. It was about 6-7 years ago. A chunk of mud hit him right in the forehead between the eyes. He rolled out from underneath that car, and he was saying so many 4-letter words that I can't repeat what he said here on the show, but he's like, until you start pressure washing your car, I will not work on your car. You go to my house and it's about as clean as what you got right here.
Yeah.
Dad believed in a clean car. You can see everything. You can maintain it better.
Yeah.
Well, I've been slacking. It's not entirely clean yet, but
Well, I found a little bit of dirt back on the rear spoiler. My son could help you with that.
Bring him on over.
We're going into a 3-day swing. Look at her Sunday to see how good it is.
So what's your 3-day swing this weekend?
Okay, this weekend we're going to the fairgrounds at Des Moines for Friday night.
Okay.
And then Saturday night we'll be at Shelby County Speedway.
That's a given.
Yep. And then Sunday night we're going back to Stewart.
Now, how often do you go to Stewart?
First Sunday of every month, they have late models there.
That's the only nights they have them.
Now, how long have you been racing Stewart? Has it just been this year?
This is the first year in late models we've raced Stewart.
How do you like Stewart?
I love that little bull ring. I love it.
Wow.
I raced Stewart 5 years in a row in the hobby stocks every Sunday night.
As a veteran driver, or do you like the big track or the bull rings?
I build the bodies now, so I like the big track.
You like the bull rings or the big tracks?
Well, naturally, I got my first win at Des Moines, so I kind of like the bigger tracks.
Well, yeah.
But
I like the bull ring.
I like the bull rings too. You know, coming from Corning, that long drag race, you know, you can look up and around and everything. When I went up to Harlan for the first time, that was the first time that I've been naturally tired after a race. I was cramping up after the race, sweating more than I ever have been.
Yeah, I raced Corning one time, and this is so funny. We're down there with the B-Mod. I've only raced it once, maybe twice, but the first time I was there, I go down to turn 4 where the pit shack is, and I look down the straightaway, and I look over at my crew guy, and I was like, oh boy, we're geared way wrong here. And he's like, why? I was like, did you see how big this track is? He goes, well, yeah, he says it's a half mile like I-80. I was like, no. It's like a dual drag strip with a corner at each end. And so he looks down and goes, oh my God, we are geared wrong.
We gotta have something different.
Yeah. And so I go over to the one guy and I was like, what kind of gear you're in your B-Mod? 486, what do you got? 514? I was like, we're chipping about 100 foot off the corner. I was just, and I remember in hot laps, this is back when Denny Burgon Jr. was in a B-Mod. We come off the turn 2, and I swear it's like the straightaway would never end. It's like, oh my God.
Where is it?
At one point, I think I was driving like this with my arm on the window. I'm like, but boy, when that corner hits, you better hold on for the ride of your life, because you're going to set that car and you're going to haul ass.
That's right.
Now, to me, Shelby County, you got really fast straightaways, but you got these long, broad corners, and you can keep the RPMs up.
Momentum.
It's all momentum.
Momentum.
And I tell everybody, you know, Harlan, Shelby County may not be the biggest track there is out there in Iowa, but I'll be damned if it ain't one of the fastest tracks. And because when you get that momentum, if you're scared to go fast, you need to stay off Harlan. To me, anyways.
Yeah.
Harlan is a good, fast, racy track. In my opinion, right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't think it's a good beginner track.
No. No.
You got to know something about your setup when you go there.
That's right. You gotta be ready to go fast and stay in the throttle.
Yeah. The problem is
lay your head in the headrest, and that's what I told him the first time. I said, be comfortable. Well, when he got done, his neck was cramping, his arms were cramping. So what'd you do? He says, well, I held my breath the first couple laps.
Well, you got
my visor fogged
His
up.
visor fogged
Running
up.
second, first time ever up there, started breathing too hard, working myself.
Yeah. I remember back in 94, 95, Tom Gutowski's promoting Eagle Raceway. And he tells me, he goes, why don't you bring your Friday night flyer up to Harlan, and you can run with our, I think back then they were called Pro Stock or Hobby Stock or something like that. I was like, am I legal? He goes, oh yeah, you're legal. And I'll never forget this about Harlan. Never forget this. And so I don't even know if the guy's still around. Blackie Madsen.
Oh yeah, Blackie's still around.
Blackie's still around.
Yep.
So that tells you how long ago.
Iowa.
That tells you how long ago I was racing.
Yeah.
So I go out there and we're in this race with Blackie, and I'll never forget Blackie, because who the hell names their kid Blackie? So I always wondered that. So I'm up there racing, and we come off turn 4. And of course, you know, I've never been there, so I'd start to tell heat. By the time I get to going into turn 1, Blackie and the boys are coming in a tight group coming out of turn 2. And I'll never forget this. I opened up my visor, I'm like, what the hell kind of motor are these guys running? I've just got a Friday night flyer from Eagle Raceway. And so I come back in, and Dad looks at me and he's puffing on his cigarette, and he goes, we're definitely outgunned here. And I'm like, oh boy, you have no idea. This ain't bringing a knife to a gunfight. This is bringing a pair of fingernail clippers to a gunfight. I'll never forget that night. So I go up to Black, I go, well, what kind of motor are you running? Nothing fancy. What kind of car you got? And I can't remember what it was now. And he goes, well, we're running a 406 blueprinted, balanced race engine and all that. I'm like, he's like, well, what do you have? A bum dead stock 76 Grand Prix
350.
But you know, at that point, that was my first year of racing, and it scared the hell out of me. Yeah. So back when it was your first season 4 years ago, what was the biggest thing that scared the hell out of you that you were like, oh my God?
Those big motors flying right by me sucked me into their carburetor.
I know one that's a little better than that. Drawn pole your very first race. That scared
Did you
you.
start?
Drawn pole rookie year, about 6th or 7th race in against MLRA.
Did you stay up there?
No.
Oh, you went to the back.
No, well, yes, I actually did start there. I took my starting position. Coming out of turn 2, 4 wide, going down the backstretch. Corning did not work going into turn 3.
I would imagine not. I remember, you know, back when I was 18, 19 when I started racing. In fact, I was 18. I had a choice. Either I go to my high school graduation or I go stock car racing. Well, to tell you how naive I was, I thought you guys all made thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, needless to say, I didn't realize how expensive the cars were.
Yeah.
So, I decided to go stock car racing. Well, I'm out there at Eagle Raceway, and I got this 76 Grand Prix, and I'm like, oh boy, look at me, I got me a race car. And all I hear is just, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, man, this car's sounding great. This car's sounding awesome. Now back then, and you might know what I'm talking about, this is back when you had late models, modified, street stocks, everybody on the track at the same time.
Yeah.
Eagle used to do that. And I'm out there, I didn't know any better. My car sounded amazing. And I come off turn 4 on the high side, and I shot down, and here comes Joe Kaczynski in his late model.
Right.
Scared the hell out of me. I put it in the wall, pancaked all the beautiful lines on that Grand Prix.
Oh, boy.
So you got these nice, beautiful lines on the left side of the car, but the right side of the car looks like just a brick wall. And I come in, and Dad's laughing so hard he's pert near crying. He's smoking his cigarette, and he goes, well, what'd you think of that? And I'm trembling. And I went over to Joe Kaczynski. I'm like, how expensive is your motor? Oh, about $50,000. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God. And Joe's laughing. He goes, welcome to racing, son.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that moment. And
That'd buy the whole field that you were in.
yeah, and you know what happened? I went over to Dad. I was like, I don't care what we got to do. You think, once again, naive, you think we can get $15,000 out of this Grand Prix? And Dad's like, why? Well, it's a race car. Well, it's still not a high dollar car.
No.
I'm like, Dad, we painted it. We put the cage in it. It's a turnkey race car. I bought the car for $25 off a farmer. But I thought I could get 15,000 of it.
Attaboy.
Turnkey.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, what are you going to do with 15,000? I want to go get a late model. Dad's like, get in the truck. We're going. So I tell you what, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you guys, follow what you guys are doing, racing, see where you guys are up next?
We both are on Facebook.
Dalton Mason, though,
Yep,
right?
Dalton Mason.
Dalton Mason, and we keep it. We don't keep it upgraded as much as we can. Just look for us at the local track. Harlan's going to be our local track every Saturday.
Shelby County Speedway, Harlan,
Yeah.
Iowa.
Yeah.
First Sunday of every month.
First
Stewart.
Sunday every month, Stewart, and then the fairgrounds until they don't race there anymore.
Yep. Now, by the way, did the fairgrounds reshape the track this year, or is that next year?
No, it's the same as it's been.
Okay, so somebody told me that they were actually going to make it like a big 3/8. They were going to shorten it and make it a little bit more racy.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Do you want them to keep it big half mile, or do you want it to go 3/8?
Probably go to the 3/8. They get that big track. They get so spread out so quick on that.
Did it ever get kind of boring for you? You're just like,
Not when you're in front.
Yeah.
not when you're in front because you don't know what's behind you.
No,
You don't know if they're on your back bumper, if they're
that's
straight away
exactly
behind you.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, one last question. Some drivers and I were talking about this. What is each one of your favorite? Each one of you individually. Where's your favorite place to start at in the feature? I have found this incredibly interesting.
12th.
You like to start 12th in the feature.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I'm leading the points then.
I've never had it put to me quite like that, but that's a good point. How about you?
That is a really good point. I've never thought of it that way.
Neither have I.
I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 rows back, because by that time, you know, you got some guys that are high up there in points, and you'll be able to tell where they're running. They're quick. They'll find the line quick.
I've had a lot of guys tell me they like to start pole. And I always thought that when you started pole, you started right away with a monkey on your back.
Yes.
And I've had guys tell me they like to start front row outside. Problem is, you're still starting with a monkey on your back because you got 20-some guys behind you. My personal favorite starting spot is second row outside, because first is usually going to go to the bottom, second is going to go up high. I'm going to go up high. Guess what's between the first row?
You got room then.
I got room.
Yeah.
So I like to start second row outside, but I've had a lot of third row. They kind of want to see where everybody's running at up front. Oddly, and I mean this sarcastically, nobody's been picking last row or second row.
Yeah.
I tell you what, a lot of times I'd learned from a veteran driver that if you're going to start in either one of the last 3 rows, just start behind the field. Don't start with the field, start behind the field.
Let it filter out.
Let it filter out. You'll have the squirrels back there. They'll bury themselves with wrecks or whatnot. And I actually did that at Harlan here a few weeks back when I was there, and we went from 24th, I think, to 14th. And it worked out. My pit crew, my son's going, why in the hell is Dad starting straight away behind the field? Because I don't want to tear my car up.
Yeah.
Let them spread out. You kind of swim right through there. So, well, thanks for being on the show, and hope to catch back up with you guys later and see how you're doing.
You do too. Thanks for having us, buddy.
No problem. Thank you. So Freddie Miller, fast Freddie Miller out of Avoca, Iowa, and Dalton Mason. Where do you live anyways?
About a mile north.
All right, Avoca, Iowa.
Yeah.
Both
So-
of us are from Avoca.
I tell you what, this has been Slingin Dirt TV. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to Slingin Dirt. I tell you what, before we go into our tech tip, Freddie Miller, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in a late model, and his son Dalton, he's already got some wins. He's got a long, bright career in front of him. He's only 20-some years old. He's going to college.
And a great mentor, you know.
Oh man, you couldn't have asked for a better mentor than Freddie Miller. It doesn't matter if Freddie Miller's running in the back or if Freddie Miller's running up front. One thing about Freddie Miller, I've never known the guy in all my entire racing career to not have a smile on his face. This is one of the most happy-go-lucky.
Yep.
He's just an awesome guy. So kudos to those guys, and I like to see Dalton go really, really far in the late models. But I tell you what, it's that time of the week. We're going to be talking tech tip, and you actually have a good one because this is one of the most overlooked areas of one's race operation.
And it affects your car, you know, it affects your horsepower, how it runs. It makes a big difference. But
what we got here are header gaskets. Now, if I was to ask my wife what a header gasket is,
oh, did you have to go there?
that's when she's gonna be like, that's when I take a frying pan and hit you in the head and your head's like stuck to the wall. And yeah, but anyways, so on the header gaskets, these are on a Chevy V8 small block Chevy. Ford, Dodge has the same thing. We've got 3 different styles here. We've got, this looks like your Mr. Gasket style header gasket. I don't know what this actual material is called. This is going to be
That's your standard stock gasket.
from Schoenfeld.
Schoenfeld.
Yep.
This is one that you get from Speedway. It's just a different material. It's more the fireproof material. And then you've got the extra thick ones, the aluminum ones, which you kind of turned me on to because I was having problems with the header. If you got a header that's leaking, I mean, you need to check them. I mean, sometimes they're hard to see, but normally you'll see wisps of a little gray or brown on your valve covers. This is your first indication. You can actually put your hand over there and feel it if it's bad enough. But you can see how it doesn't always have to be. It separates. It delaminated it and was blowing between the gaskets, and it will affect how your car runs. And like all of us have taken a hit or two to the headers, and sometimes it will warp them or tweak them just a little bit. Where you put a brand new gasket in there and you think, oh, everything's peachy keen. You tighten her all down, and guess what?
You still got a little bit of warpage right there.
Yeah, and the thing is once the flange on the header itself is bent, I don't know the way of straightening them. If you do, get a hold of us, but I don't know. But they do make these aluminum extra thick gaskets, and they crush down pretty good. They have a hollow back and a smooth front, and when you tighten them down, they crush and conform. And so far, with the header that I have, it's just a little tweak. These have seemed to be working. So I mean, this is a great deal. I don't know, where'd you get them at?
Actually, you can get these at Speedway Motors. You can get them at Precise Racing, Sardison Racing, Carl's Performance. This actual one right here, I got this of all places, Advanced Auto.
Yeah,
it's like $40 for the set. But with these, these are your standard Mr. Gasket style material, $7 for a set of header gaskets. You put these on once, you're not reusing these.
No.
This one here, I can tell you that this looks like it maybe came from Sardison Racing with the price tag on it. These are about $10 for the set. Once again, once or twice, you're not taking these on and off a whole bunch.
No.
They'll blow right here. But these things here, this is a Mr. Gasket. Now that I think about it, this is a Mr. Gasket, soft aluminum. It's really thick. It's got quite a few layers in here. I think about 6 layers of aluminum. It's real soft. When you push on it, you can push it in with your fingers. My favorite header gasket, and I wish the parts store sold them around here, are Piercy's gaskets. They're a little bit more. They're about $50 or $60, but you can get
if you don't have to change them, I mean, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to having leaks and just fighting.
No, but this will crush down, like Jack said, this will crush down between the head and the header flange itself, and it'll get rid of almost any leaks. Now, the one thing a lot of guys do, Jack, and I've never done it, I've never seen it done, maybe somebody out there wants to show us a video of this, is let's say this is your header flange right here. They'll actually take high temp silicone and they'll actually glue these to the header, and it works really well when you have a warped header flange. I've never done it. I just don't want to spend an hour scraping off material, and I don't want that sucking into my valves, my head, and stuff like that.
Exactly, you don't want to take that chance.
One of the first things, especially if you're driving a V8 powered race car, like a late model, a modified, a stock car, hobby stock, something like that, if you hear some minor popping, or you get on the throttle pretty good and you hear some pretty good popping, one of the very first things we check are these, and I cannot stress this enough, and I think it really causes a lot of the header flange warpage that you were alluding to, is right here where these holes are. This is where where your header bolts go. Make sure your header bolts are tight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, after every heat race, every feature, 1 or 2 of them will work loose. I don't care if God Almighty himself made the header bolts.
I've even Loctited them in and still had them.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, all that weight hanging out there bouncing.
Well, the one thing that we did find that helped us, one, it saved the header. 2, we still get loose header bolts, but not as many now, is where our header comes out, we actually hang a strap right there, and it helps support the header at the end of the header at the collector. It's one more bolt that you got to do on your weekly maintenance, but if it's going to protect a $300 set of headers, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But by far and away, I think these thick aluminum gaskets are definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I've went through, gosh, I don't know how many sets of these, and so far these.
I refuse to use a material like this.
These ones have been holding up the best for the one that was leaking. The other one I have this type on, and it doesn't leak on the right side, but on the left driver's side, somebody pegged me and maybe just tweaked it a little bit. It's the way it goes, guys. So there you go. If you need information on getting these, like say, you can call Sardison or
Precise, Carl's Performance,
any of those guys, and they can turn you on to the.
Even your local parts store will have this particular gasket. It's a Mr. Gasket. It's $39.99.
Yep, it's one of those things. Keep it in your trailer, so if you do happen to bend a header and it's leaking, you can change it and throw this on there, and hopefully it gets you through the feature and you win. So there you go. That's our tech tip of the week.
We'll be right back here on Slingin Dirt TV. Welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV, presented by Joe's Karting. Joe's Karting, your only place to race. Ain't no secret, it's hot as hell outside.
That it is.
Oh my God. And if you viewers out there, or you fans, if you think it's hot outside, get into a race car and go for a
Put on a
ride.
snowmobile suit and a helmet and
Yeah,
jump in a heater and
for about 40 minutes and have at it. Corey's is our fan of the week, and she's got a really good question. Is how do you get ready to go racing in these extreme temps? You know, it's actually a really good question, because there's been times where you and I have called each other. You gonna go tonight, Chad? I don't know. You gonna go tonight, bud? I don't know. It's 105 degrees and about 90% humidity.
and there is a fine line between enjoyable, having fun, and screw this, I'm staying inside.
Well, you're old.
I am old.
Well, you just want to stay inside and watch Sports Center and drink a beer and sit in the AC.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I've earned that right. That's
Yeah.
why I'm old.
Well, yeah. I actually want to go racing, but I'm young at heart. At times I think I'm invincible. But with that being said, I mean, here a couple weeks ago we rained out at Clark County Speedway, and I actually told my guys, I'm kind of glad we're not racing today, because it's hot as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, back to how do you prep for a night's racing in 100-degree heat? First and foremost, about 2 days prior to racing, drink lots of water.
Yep.
You cannot drink enough water.
No, you want to keep water in your system. I mean, like, I'm drinking water now, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's hot out because I have to go mow. I have to drink water all the time. And I get dehydrated really easy. I'm just one of those guys that instant heat, instant sweat, and it just pours out. I mean, it's hard to keep hydrated. You got to be careful with the sports drinks. You can drink too much of that stuff, and it's bad for you in other ways. So, water's always the best solution. If you need a quick pick-me-up of your electrolytes, the sports drinks are really good too.
Yeah.
I like to intermix. I usually take 2 sports drinks and 9 bottles of water to the track. And I get the sports drinks. The crew gets water. If they want to bring something else, they do. But I'll intermix the sports drinks with the water. The basic rule is, probably all know that if you're not peeing, you're dehydrated. So you need to keep drinking, and like I said, we allude to, we throw these hot suits on, we're sitting out in the hot sun. Usually the only shade we got is between 2 trailers.
And the air's not moving.
The air's not moving, so we're sitting in a trailer that's hot with a fan blowing on us, which is hot, and then we get into a snowmobile suit and jump in a heater and go have fun. But there is a fine line between enjoyable and not enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely drink some of the things I've been turned on to in the last few years. I've been known to drink Pedialyte or Ensure.
Yep, that's good stuff too.
I'll drink some of that. Now, everybody that knows me knows I love my Dr. Pepper. And it's real easy to go into a gas station or a grocery store and just get a 12-pack of soda, because it tastes great, it's cold, you think you're refreshed, and all you're doing is drinking a ton of sugar, and all it's doing is it's just killing you. It's bad for you. My wife is pretty hard on me. She likes to see at least a 24-pack of water in the cooler. The one thing that she has started doing, and I didn't think about this, when it's 100 degrees out, you run for that water, and man, an ice cold water in 100-degree heat sounds good. Wrong thing to do. You do not guzzle a nice cold bottle of water in 100-degree heat. So believe it or not, now if it's 80, 85, we'll have ice in the cooler. But if you was, this last week at Ice Speedway when it's 100-some degrees, if you were looking at our cooler, we had no ice. It was room temperature, and everybody's like, ugh. Seriously, you're drinking warm water? I'm like, it's probably better for you to drink that warmer water in the extreme heat than it is guzzling the ice cold water in the extreme heat.
Well, and that's yes and no. Warm or just not ice cold. Ice cold water, we all know, give you the freezer head and puts a shock to your system. But that's why my wife actually got me carrying these cups, because it makes me drink water. It makes me think about it, because when I'm out mowing, I don't carry a water bottle in the mower, because the stuff's all flying out, it gets covered in dirt. So what I do is I keep this in the truck, and every time I get in the truck to move it, it reminds me to drink water, stupid. I'm bad about it. I always have been.
I was at Shelby County Speedway. This is, I want to say 2010, 2011, somewhere in that, no, 2009 to 2011, somewhere in those 3 seasons. I'm racing weekly, And I went and weighed myself. It was hotter than hell. Went and weighed myself on the scale, and I remember coming back after the feature. And it was one of these sport mod features where I think there was more caution. There was more caution laps than there was green laps. And I actually came back because I was just sweating profusely. And anybody that knows me knows that I don't sweat profusely. I hardly sweat at all. And so I come back to the scales. I lost 6 pounds.
Yeah,
in that one race.
No doubt. I mean, I've lost 8 pounds in a day just riding a lawnmower and then going racing or whatever. It's easy to do, and that's a lot of water.
Also, when it's really hot out, so we know, drink Pedialyte and Sure sports drinks. Don't overdo it. I would definitely stay away from your energy drinks like Monster, 5 Hour Energy. Stay away from the caffeine and the syrups. Drink lots of water. The other thing about the hot weather is your eating. Believe it or not, do not eat. To me, I say don't eat a whole lot on a hot day. I'm not saying don't eat, period, but I wouldn't be eating a 9-course meal before you go racing in the hot weather.
No, you got to have some food in your belly.
Like
you say, we always eat light. She makes roll-ups and
those little pickle roll-ups. Yeah, it's nice and cool.
Something bite. You're hungry. You eat it. Chunk cheese is another good thing.
Yep.
They're all little boosts of protein, is what it's meant to do. Just give
bananas are amazing.
That's good for your potassium. And the other thing that I do when it gets really hot is I have one of those neck coolers. It's got the expandable beads.
Yep.
They just absorb water, and you just throw them in your cooler and then tie it around your neck, and you can actually wear that under your fire suit, and it keeps your neck warm, which keeps your head warm. Because basically you're going to go into heat stroke if you don't. So you got to keep you're trying to keep your core cool, which kind of helps cool everything else.
Now the one thing I have done, especially if I know, if it's 100 degrees out, I can promise you folks that in the infield of a dirt track, it's way hotter. It's way hotter at the track surface. I've actually been known to take some fairly cold water, and I'll actually put it in a spray bottle, or I'll just dump it straight out of the bottle itself. I'll turn my helmet upside down, and I'll just kind of go like this, and I'll just soak the inside of my helmet.
Yep.
That way, as soon as I put the helmet on, I've got a nice cool helmet. I'm relaxed. It's calming me down. And then I take the helmet off, and it feels like I just got slapped in the face by Mother Nature with the heat. But yeah, that's something I've done.
That's one of the kind of the same thing you're doing. One thing with a neck cooler too is your carotid arteries run right down your neck, and it's cooling your main arteries going to your brain. So it helps you keep a clear head. Just kind of gives you a sense of being cool. And once you're racing, you're not paying attention to the heat anymore. You don't even think about it until the caution hits, and then you're like, oh crap, here we go.
So what do you guys do to keep nice and cool? Let us know. I mean, maybe we could learn something from you. Maybe we've taught you something. I tell you what, it's been Slingin' Dirt TV presented by Joe's Karting. We'll be right back.
Would you like to see your ad right here on Slingin' Dirt TV? You need money, we need money. So if you want to sponsor an ad on Slingin' Dirt TV,
email me at buddyj@joeskarting.com. It's BUDDY, letter J at joeskarting.com, karting with a K. Gain some traction, become a winner by putting your sponsorship right here. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin' Dirt TV. It's that time of the week. Without further ado, Songer says.
Alright, so I hear a lot of whining, crying, bitching, moaning, groaning, whatever you want to call it, about people who stay in a class too long and should move up. Why? Who are you to tell them to move up? Who are you? Are you Johnny Race Car Driver? How many races have you won? How much money of your own do you spend? Where is your expertise on when and how and why somebody should move up? If you're comfortable where you're at and you can afford where you're at, then that's what you should do. I mean, my God, this shit is expensive. This is the most expensive hobby in the world. I don't think there's possibility of anything that's more expensive. I recently quoted a race-ready, no motor, no tranny, no gear, no shocks, no springs stock car. $25,000. And And you people are all out there going, well, this guy should move up from the front wheel guys, and this guy should move up from the hobby stocks, and this guy should move from the B-mods. Who are you guys? What makes you an expert? Other than you just like to hear yourself talk, kind of like myself, you know? I obviously do this because I like to hear myself talk, evidently, because I don't think anybody really gives a crap what I got to say. But I just throw it out there anyway. So why should they have to move up? Where should it be? I mean, if a guy is winning all the time, he's obviously a very, very competitive person. He does what it takes to get that edge. He busts his butt. He pushes the car. He is competitive. He does not want to lose. So do you really think he doesn't want to challenge and moving up? Have you ever thought about that concept? Yeah, he wants to challenge. Now, here's the big thing. Can him and his family or him and his sponsors afford to move up? For instance, if you're moving up from a hobby stock to a stock car, you go from $50 to $60 tires to $100 tires. And from what I've seen and the guys who have jumped into a hobby stock after driving a stock car, the tires we run are 10 times better than that junk they're making you run. So you're paying double the money. And I got news for you folks. There ain't many people winning features out there on used Hoosiers. It ain't happening. So there's the expense. The motor's more expensive. I don't care what it is, even if they go to a crate, it's gonna be a 604, so there's an extra $2,000. The shocks are more expensive. And plus you're not gonna run a stock car on regular gas. Same for the B mods. Moving up to an A mod. It's not gonna happen. Or the front wheel drive guys. To go to a hobby stock, you're going from maybe a $2,500 to a $3,000, let's just say on the high end, $6,000 front wheel drive. I guarantee you can't put together a race-ready hobby stock for under $12,000. Can't happen, will not happen, no way, unless you're running clear in the back, waving at people as they go by you every lap. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody enjoys it. But you people who constantly say a guy should move up, okay? I'm with everybody else. I like to see different winners. I like to see new guys come on. I like to see new guys start to really, really do well. I like that. But that doesn't mean the guy that's been winning all the time needs to move up. When he needs to move up is when he can afford it and when it's right for him and his family.
Tell you what, good old Jamie Songer. I've got it.
Speechless.
We're going to be doing something here different on Slingin Dirt TV. Normally, we've never really previewed what's going to be coming up on the show, but here in the next week or two, we're going to have a two-part interview.
Yep.
With Todd Cooney, Jamie Songer, and Sean Cooney. And the only thing I could think of was tube socks, sperm donor, and Prince Frog, I guess.
I do not want to be in your head.
Trust me, once you see the interview, you're gonna be like, oh my God, seriously? That's right. We're gonna take the interview. The interview itself is almost 45 minutes to an hour long, so we're gonna split it into two parts. They're gonna be on both shows, but it's a really, really good interview, folks. You don't want to miss it. They get some serious stuff out there. They're hilarious. They are hilarious. I kind of felt bad for Sean for quite a while, so. But that's coming out, maybe next week, I think. It's been Slingin Dirt TV, presented by Joe's Karting, JP3, Buddy Ray. We'll be right back. We'll see you later.